Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Reds Rundown podcast, hosted by two lifelong Reds fans and journalists. I'm Rob, he's Joe, and we appreciate you taking the time to join us. Joe, it was a rough weekend for the Reds on this Memorial Day, but hopefully you had a good weekend otherwise.
Better than the Reds. It's a pretty low bar, but yeah, it wasn't. It was a good weekend. It wasn't fun seeing all the Cubs fans in town, but with the way our team is doing, the way their team is doing, I understand why the attendance was the way it was.
Yeah, I mean, even listening on the radio, what was it, maybe Sunday, hearing the Cowboy go, well, I think it's a 50-50 split. I was like, yeah, that's not fun. We don't love that here in Cincinnati, but you got to play well to earn that right. So that's how it goes. Joe, today we're going to do what we do. We're going to go over the games of the week, some injury updates. The Reds made a quick signing. I'm calling it a quick because I don't know how long he'll last either. We're going to talk a little bit about what good teams look like, and then we'll have the question of the day that we'll be going over, which is, what do the Reds need to do to give you guys hope, to give Joe hope, maybe to give me hope? We'll have to see. And then we'll go over the Royals and the Cubs. So, yeah, let's just get into it real quick this week. Joe, the Reds started off the week well. They were on a 5-game winning streak. They won 7-1 over the Pirates. Nick Lodolo was fantastic. 4 hits, 1 earned run, 1 walk, 7 strikeouts in 6 innings. The Reds put on a display of gap power. Doubles galore for Hayes, 2 for Lux, 1 for Friedel, 2 for Ellie, 1 for Will Benson, as well as he continued to be hot. TJ would have 3 hits. Austin Hayes would have 3 hits as well. Stevenson and McLean would continue to struggle a little bit. The Reds bullpen would hold it down. Lyon Richardson, a sneaky name that maybe we will need to talk about here very soon. Had another good game in this one. The Reds would take down Mitch Keller to hand him his 6th loss of the season, Joe, 1-6. Then we were back to Reds baseball as we know it, Joe. The Reds would lose 1-0, 1-0 to the Pittsburgh Pirates. They would not be able to get to Bailey Falter a second time this season. Nick Martinez, bad luck again, gives up 1 run, 4 hits in 6 innings pitched. 2 walks, 3 strikeouts. Luis May and Lyon Richardson again would get the job done, but nobody would hit whatsoever. Spencer Steer would have a hit, Espinal would have a hit, Friedel would have 2 more hits, and Connor Joe would have another hit. But the rest of the Reds bats were ice cold for some reason. Bailey Falter would go 7 innings, only 5 strikeouts, but would scatter 4 hits. Then we would continue to have more depressing Reds baseball as the Reds would lose 3-1 to the Pirates, yet again struggling to hit against Andrew Haney, a little bit more of a better pitcher, I would say, than Bailey Falter. Most would say that. Brady Singer would be another tough luck loss guy. He would struggle a little bit, but only give up 5 hits, 2 earned runs, 4 walks to 3 strikeouts. Tyler Stevenson would have the lone extra base hit for the Reds, as the Reds again would scatter 4 hits throughout this series. Joe, this was just awful. I don't really know what else to say. If you only give up a total of 5 runs to the Pirates, especially in an entire series, you would expect to win all 3 of those games. The Reds did not. As a quick reminder, the Reds also outscored them 8-5 in the series, but hey, we did what we always do. 7 runs in 1 game. So, pretty awful, to say the least.
Yeah, we went into the series thinking, oh, we avoid Paul Skeens. That's great. I would rather face Paul Skeens than have this result, and at least I could feel a little bit better about it. But yeah, this is an awful series. The Pirates, other than when we swept them earlier this year, have our number over the last several years. I don't know what it is. They're a bad team. They don't have much potential. It is just crazy to me that we can somehow not beat this team. And honestly, a lot of our struggles in the past several years would have been fixed if we could just beat the Pirates more than not. And we don't. So that's something to figure out. I think in the first game, we had a little bit of an overreaction, at least on Twitter, when we didn't pinch hit for Santiago Espinal in the 9th inning. A lot of people wanted a left-handed hitter to go in against a righty reliever. I think it's a little bit overblown. People are going nuts about Terry Francona. People are going nuts about Santiago Espinal. He was, at the time, hitting .250 against righties this year. I think he's earned the right to stay in the spot and have that chance. And there was a reason behind it too. Gavin Lux is having back spasms. They didn't want to put him at third. They could have moved Spencer Steer to third, but he hasn't played much third, obviously this season, but even in the last several seasons. So that's kind of like, I think one of the things on Twitter I saw was just we does that that's not the issue. Like I get that everyone wants to go make it like a micro thing of like, oh, if we would have pinch hit in the ninth inning, we would have won that game. Like maybe, yeah, that's definitely a possibility. But to be honest, it's more of a huge overall macro picture problem with this team is that we can't score runs. And that one little thing is like, great. If you want to criticize Terry Francona, that's fine. You go do that. I'm seeing everyone on Twitter do it. To me, we had David Bell, who again I thought was like a C. I think we talked about it, Rob, like a C minus manager, just not enough to get more out of its small market team. And I think Terry's better than that, but I think at the end of the day, it comes down to just how much talent we have on the roster and some of the big holes we have on the roster, which I'm going to get to, I think, in a little bit here, is just kind of some of these things are unpreventable by a manager's decision. It has to take some front office and some more personnel. And that was like one of the things I saw that really upset me this series from the fans was just like that, if that's what your take, that's fine. But just why is that the one thing we're criticizing? Why don't we criticize the fact that we can't hit a freaking baseball? And in the second game, the other thing that got me really upset was there was a lot of pitches to hit, a lot of pitches right down the middle again, specifically to Ellie. I think in the first inning, a couple pitches, fastballs down the middle, and he just missed it. And I am getting sick of seeing that. Like I think Will Benson actually has a lesson to everyone on the Reds where we strike out a lot as a team. If we're going to strike out a lot, let's try to be aggressive. Like, I'm getting sick of striking out looking. I'm getting sick of all this stuff. Be ready to hit, and then if you see the balls out of the zone, then adjust to that and not swing. That's what Will Benson's doing. They talked about it on the broadcast. And that was like my pet peeve. My two pet peeves from the Pirate series was just that, Espinal got a lot of hate. I hate that he's getting hate because, again, he's just doing his job. I hate that Terry's getting hate because, again, I think you can criticize the decision, but, like, it's just a little bit overblown. And just that. It's just we can't hit pitches down the middle. It's so frustrating.
Yeah, I'm going to look into the camera. I'm going to give a quick call out. If you are out there and you are giving shit to Santiago Espinal, get the hell out of here. Be done. Be gone. Go do something else with your life because that man is doing more for this Reds team than all those players that you love so much. He is playing wherever they need him to. He's playing very good defense. He is moving runners over. He is giving productive at-bats. That man would go down 0-2 and get to a 3-2 count multiple times this week, right? He's getting hits. He's going to go through slumps just like everybody else is. I understand he's not that 300 batter that we saw at the beginning of the season, but guess what? His slumps are still better than half the players on this team right now. So, look, I understand that he's not that big name, but you just get out of here with the Santiago Espinal crap. I'm tired of it. I understand. And when my other part here is when you're criticizing a manager in a 1-0 loss for not putting Will Benson in, you can also get the hell out of here. This guy's batting too because nobody else can. I don't understand it, Joe. It is mind-boggling to me to hear these types of criticism when your superstar has 4 RBIs in one game and doesn't do shit for the rest of the game, right? Like, for the rest of the series, I should say. Like, I love this Reds team, and I'm not just going to sit here and criticize Ellie. He's still been one of our best players, without a doubt, right? I'm not going to sit here and say that, some of this, sure, could fall on Terry. Could he have put Will Benson in at an earlier time in this series? Probably, right? Like, I understand Will Benson is scorching hot, but when you have two lefties, you don't want him to lose that confidence either, right? So you don't want him to go out there and have a 3-strikeout game against an Andrew Haney who's been pitching very well this year, right? You have to understand that that's part of the game. So the lack of, I think, general knowledge and understanding of the way that baseball is played. I think I put a tweet out about that for Espinal. If you are criticizing Santiago Espinal, then you don't know baseball. And I'm not trying to be a baseball elitist, but I'm just telling you, you don't understand the way that baseball is played. This man is adding more value than WAR is going to show, than his stats are going to show. He is possibly the most valuable player in this lineup right now outside of Austin Hayes. And that's saying a lot. So can we be done with that? If you are a watcher or a listener of this show, tell all your friends and family, to just shut the hell up about Santiago Espinal and let the man play baseball the way that he does, because he's doing a lot better than everybody else. That was my spiel for this one, Joe. We'll move on to an unbelievable Cubs series anyways. I still want to cry about this one. Look, the Reds, they blew a big one here. The Reds were up 6-2. They would ultimately lose 13-6. The bullpen would have their first true blow-up game of the season that I can really remember. Big hits from Hayes with his first triple, Friedel, Steer, Tyler Stevenson. We were moving runners along. The problem was you had bases loaded in the first, you score 3 runs, and then you commit a noble tiger. You can't do that against a team like the Cubs. You have to keep your foot on the gas. The Reds were unable to do this. Hunter Green would only be able to go 4 innings because the Cubs were making him work. They knew he was on a pitch count. They got him out of the game early, which made us get to the bullpen quicker. Scott Barlow would come in, get some stuff done. Taylor Rogers as well. Ian Jabot in his first game back would give up 3 runs. Tony Santillan would give up 3 runs. Brent Suter would give up 3 runs. And Luis May would give up 2 runs. It was the homers to the big bats that we talked about that you got to try to avoid. Pete Crow Armstrong had 2 big home runs. Seiya Suzuki had a home run. Dansby Swanson would have a home run in the 9th. Not that it would matter off of May at that point. But this Reds team, they stopped hitting. They got to Matt Boyd very early. You got him out of there in 4 innings. You would have thought that they could take advantage of that. They were really unable to do so, and it would cost them in a loss. They would win the Saturday game, though, which would be good. Elly De La Cruz, again, like I talked about, big home run in the first inning. The Reds wouldn't really keep it on, the pedal to the metal necessarily. They would get to Colin Ray again here in the 5th inning for 3 runs. But Andrew Abbott threw an absolute gem. 5 2/3, 6 hits, 1 earned run on a solo home run, which he always seems to do. 2 walks, 2 strikeouts. Graham would come in and take care of business. Tony would come in and take care of business. And Emilio would come in, and he'd give up the home run late in the game, but the Reds would end up winning 6-4. But Sunday's game, Joe, this might have been the hay barrel, not the straw, that broke the camel's back, just in the sense of how many runs were scored. The Reds are up 8-3 heading into the 6th inning, and this Cubs team, they did not give up. Lodolo would spin another great game. 5 innings pitched, 6 hits, 3 earned runs, 2 walks, 6 strikeouts. Graham would struggle, Taylor Rogers would struggle, and Luis May would struggle again. The Reds would ultimately lose 11-8. They could not score again after the 5th. Hayes would have another triple in this one as well. The Reds actually hit okay in this series, Joe. They hit with runners in scoring position, but ultimately they were just unable to get the job done. And it was really, really frustrating to see. This is the first time that I'll put it on the bullpen. I understand that they have great hitters, but we left some pitches in the zone that should not have been left, considering what the situations were in the game. It almost felt like the Reds would get comfortable once they had a big lead, and they would feel like they could just kind of throw whatever out there, just try to get some outs. They needed to pitch with pressure. There is not a lead that is big enough for one of the best offenses in baseball, and it was a huge disappointment for our Cincinnati Redlegs, to say the least.
Yeah, this was a possible nail in the coffin for the whole season. I know I mentioned that last week about them needing to win a couple games to get to somewhat net neutral. Sorry, I got to clear my throat here. This was a rough game because now we're 2 games under 500, Rob.
Yep.
There's a chance that we go. There's one team in the next month that we play that is under 500, and it is the Boston Red Sox,
who are not bad.
1 game under 500.
Yeah.
So they are until July 7th. This is pretty much all the way to the All-Star break. We have 6 games against the Marlins, or 7 games against the Marlins and Rockies right before the All-Star break. That is when the schedule gets easier. Even playing in Boston, 1 game under 500. This is why we needed to be 500 for this series, because maybe you could convince me that the Reds can kind of stay in it, right? We could maybe be 500 or 2 games or 3 games under 500, if we just play well, play up to our competition, because sometimes it does seem like we play better against better teams and can't take care of business against bad teams. But this was very important. I think the morale kind of broke. You're right. The bullpen, I'm going to blame it on them for the series mostly. This was one of those things where I won't blame the whole season on them so far, like a lot of people will, but like
Yep.
the floodgate, like it was, we were very leaky as a team, and now the floodgates opened, and it's going to be very hard to battle back in this NL Central. We are fourth in the league in strikeouts as hitters, and we're like average home run team. You can't do that. Like if you're going to strike out that much, you need to hit home runs. And you're down there with teams like Colorado Rockies, obviously with the most strikeouts in the league. They have 44 home runs. We are fourth, and we have 54 home runs. And there's some, there's teams that are like near us, but they have 10 or 15 more home runs. That means a lot. Like that's the easiest way to get offense. We don't have power, so we have to put the ball in play, and that's just something that has been really frustrating, especially in this series, because there was some offense, but there were times where I think it was the first inning yesterday or 2 days ago, we had runners on, and then we got up, all of them got out. Like we got 3 runs in, and then the rest of them got out. It's like we need to do a better job putting the ball in play, giving ourselves a chance. And we can all point the finger at Ellie. Ellie is a huge problem with this. I would love to see him put the ball and play more. I'd love for that to be an emphasis. But we have Matt McClain, who has 60 strikeouts this year and or 9 less games. Like this is a whole team thing, and that's kind of what I kind of saw here. Is like we did hit their pitching. Their pitching is not that good, especially with the injuries. But we can't keep up, and I think obviously the bullpen didn't come up, but also this hitting just back and forth between the two. One series it seems like the hitting's working. One series it seems like the bullpen gives something up, and I wonder if it's just honestly roster construction too, of like our front office focused so much on starting pitching, and I'm glad we have starting pitching. But then we have Rhett Lauder, who doesn't have a spot when he comes back. We have Wade Miley, who we just signed for shits and giggles, and it's like that's great. And if he comes back, that's great. But like, why can't we do that with hitters? Why can't we do that? Like, oh, this bullpen guy may not have a spot on the team, and he was actually okay last year. Why can't we do that stuff? And that is what is so frustrating. Is, you know, I do trust our starting pitchers even today. Like, I think moving forward we're fine, and I think even the depth once some of these guys get healthy. We're talking about injuries here in a little bit, but I think we're fine. We can get through it, but I don't think we can get through not having more power if we're going to strike out this much, or not focusing more on average. If you kind of look at the Reds' offense, what do we do well? We steal bases. I mean, we
Kind
don't
of.
I think we're fourth in the league in stolen bases. We hit doubles. I just like it's cool if you want to be hitting doubles, but we're just like we're average in most offensive categories, and it just does not going to get you anywhere. So when you go up against a team like this, who as like these guys talk about Pete Crow Armstrong and McGuire, who came up and had 2 home runs on Sunday. Crazy. This is like this. You have to have the offense flowing on all cylinders, and like again, it comes down to just having issues, and then those issues have other issues pop up because the one issue starts. So it's all about that. We can't handle adversity, so that's why the bullpen falls apart. We have 13 losses. I think this year we only scored 0 or 1 run. We have 38 straight series losses when we lose the first game. It's everything. Like I don't know if this is a good enough rant, but like it is everything is wrong with this team besides the starting pitching. We can get hot for a week on offense. That's great. Our bullpen, I'll bet they outkick their coverage. They did way better than I thought they would for the first month of the season. It is, I think the bill's coming to pay now, where it's like, oh, we actually weren't that good. So that's the tough part here. Is that all this whole week, or I mean, if we would have won 2 games against the Pirates, we might be feeling better a little bit differently. If we would have not blown some leads against the Cubs, we'd be feeling a lot differently. But it just always seems to happen. And again, I'm not putting it on Terry Francona. There has to be a way to get better players on this team and get better hitters on this team. And you can say like, hey, let's move people up and down the lineup, but it hasn't really mattered, to be honest. Like we have guys not hitting early on in the lineup, move them down. Matt McClain's hitting a little bit better, but he's still 184. I'm on board with moving Ellie up to the 2 spot, moving Santiago Espinal down to the 8, keeping Matt McClain at the 9. I don't even know if that's going to fix anything, but I think jumbling it up might be good. But I don't think I've ever been as frustrated with a Reds team in a long, long time, and it's just because of that. Like it's so frustrating to have the starting pitching and then everything else go to shit, and not just everything else go to shit, but like the fundamentals of baseball being bad. Of like hit the pitches down the middle, man. Like it's so easy. It's just this is the most frustrating I've ever been. So I'm gonna stop my rant now before I go on. But Rob, you go ahead.
No, I mean, continue, pop off, man. I mean, this is truly the epitome of what it is to be a Reds fan. It's painful. Like, this is crazy to have to watch. And I feel bad because, like, this team is showing its immaturity, I think, is a good way to put it, right? Their inability to want to fight back. Like, they had that 2023 season where they're all hyped because they just got up, to the major leagues, so they have that hope. It's really sad because I'm going to say this and people are not going to like it. Austin Hayes should be your second or third best hitter on your team. He really should be. He's a good player. Do not get me wrong. But he's clearly not providing enough relief for the rest of the lineup right now. You need one more bat, right? Because I think, oh man, I was thinking this weekend, and I think this is going to really this one will really piss people off. I think Ellie is a star. I don't think he is a superstar. And I think that's what we are seeing, at least for now. He is still very young. I think he has the opportunity. But I think he has been thrust into this position to be a superstar, and I think it's putting a lot of pressure on him. He's been he's obviously been a good player this year. He has been an above average player this year. But even what we're seeing with Pete Crow Armstrong right now, like literally in this series, is that man carried and brought them all the way back in multiple games in big situations. What I don't love about Ellie is it feels so often that he doesn't come up in big situations right now, right? That felt like what he was kind of doing in 2023 for sure, and a little bit even in 2024. But this year, he gets the game started maybe with a 2-run home run like he did the other day. He gets, he got a hit on Sunday that drove in 2 more runs, or maybe it was Saturday. Yeah, Saturday in their win. He had 4 RBIs and, I guess theoretically carried that game, right? But it just feels like it's not happening enough to where it's like he's taking that Bobby Witt Jr. type, jump that we were hoping that he might, that we saw from Bobby Witt last year, where, he kind of just elevates himself into the next level of the stratosphere. I think Ellie still has that potential, but he's not able to right now. And if we want to win right now, which I think the Reds front office should want to win right now, when you have this great of starting pitching, I think I'm just going to sit here and just bang my gavel, bang my rock, whatever, on the desk and just say, just go get another hitter. Dude, putting in Connor Joe and freaking Garrett Hampson, we'll talk about him in a second. Like, that's great. Fun addition, whatever. But that's not going to fundamentally help this team. That's just helping you plug a hole, I don't know, with silly putty, maybe. I don't know. Like, you're not actually really fixing it. The leak is still there. This is just a temporary fix. And so, it's good to see, Spencer Steer has been red hot. He's figuring it out a little bit more. He's raised his average 60 points over the last couple of weeks. So, if he can kind of figure it out, that's great. But right now we have a lot of guys, Joe, that I think are C+, B-, B-ish players, right? And we need another A player in this lineup right now. And even in our bullpen, like you said, I think we've got guys who are finding themselves. I think, Ashcraft has been mostly great this year. I think Santillan has been mostly reliable this year. Most of this bullpen has been reliable. I'm not going to agree with you on the totally outkicking their coverage. I actually think they're a decently well-constructed bullpen. They took some chances on some guys, but I think we're seeing that, again, guys like Ashcraft, I think he is more built for the bullpen. I think he will continue that. Luis May, we knew was going to come up at some point for the bullpen. He's going to run into some rough spots, but he's been mostly good. It's still that end of the bullpen. I like Emilio Pagan. I think he's been doing a good job, but you got to have a guy who is going to come in and shut it down. Pagan is still one of those guys who's given up a couple runs here and there, and eventually that dam, like you said, is just going to break open. So this series was really frustrating for me. They've got some good middle relief guys. They've got some good setup guys. They've got good starting pitching. They've got a solid lineup, but it's inconsistent and it's incredibly streaky. And, you can't be filling players in with Connor Joes and relying on, I'm sorry, but Will Benson's to come in and save your season. It's great. These guys are all playing a role of some kind, but you got to go get a freaking hitter. They need to do it. I just saw articles literally yesterday about how the teams like the Yankees, we already know what they're going out and looking for because they're calling teams already and looking. Even the Royals were in the news about what they are looking for to try to get better. This front office has money. They have the flexibility, and you have enough starting pitching to where are you even going to put anybody? right? Chase Burns is skyrocketing right now. There's a very real possibility that he is going to be ready to be in the major leagues well before September call-ups with the rate that he is pitching right now, right? If Rhett Lauder can ever be healthy again, which I know he will be, but later on this season, he's going to be a guy who's probably going to be better than a guy like Brady Singer, even though I know he's providing you a lot. They have the possibility, Joe, of an elite starting rotation, one of the truest best in baseball, without having to go out and do what the Dodgers have done and signed 1,000 different people. Trade one of these guys and go get a hitter. It has to happen, and it needs to happen soon, because like you said, we're going to hit June and it is going to be a potential bloodbath, and this team could be 10 games back by the end of June if they do not get some relief.
Yeah, you're right about that. I do think that the bullpen is more easily fixed. I do think that they are
Yes.
average at best, in my opinion. But you get one or two more arms, specifically maybe a closer, to take Pagan's spot because he's slipped lately. That makes it a lot better. So the bullpens are the most easily be fixed thing. You don't have to give up much value in a trade to get them. They can do that easy. I am very concerned about the hitting. I mentioned earlier, I want to move Ellie up to the 2 spot. I want, if TJ Friedl gets on base, I don't want to ground into a double play. Ellie's grounded into 2 double plays all year long. He can run it out. I want the pressure off of him. I think he thinks he has to be some hero when he's batting third, and that's why he might be missing. Move Austin Hayes up to third, and just kind of move people up the lineup. Move Espinal down to 8th or 9th, and figure that out. That could help a little bit. Don't get me wrong; it's still not again. That's a micro fix for a macro problem. It's not going to hopefully fix everything because they have a lot more to do. But you're right. It's our solution to things is to go get these guys again. Austin Hayes, we got a value. Gavin Lux, the Dodgers didn't want him anymore. Even Brady Singer, the Royals were giving him up. It's not we got good value on some of these trades and some of these acquisitions. Don't get me wrong, but it's we need a actual star. And maybe Reds fans won't like this, Rob, but I think we need someone who can at least be as good as we think Ellie De La Cruz could be, or somewhere in that tier. To start first, you mentioned not a superstar. Absolutely correct. You look around the league, even just the upcoming schedule or the people we have played. Pete Crow Armstrong, he's better right now. You go down to Kansas City, Bobby Witt. You go, Milwaukee, Christian Yelich. You go Arizona, Corbin Carroll. Maybe he's not. He's been up and down for his career, but you can make an argument. Go Cleveland. You got Jose Ramirez. Detroit, maybe not one guy who sticks out over the other ones, but you just keep on going. Mason Wynn for the Cardinals, Aaron Judge for the Yankees, and Jarren Duran for the Red Sox. There's so many teams. But the Phillies have 3 or 4 guys that could be said they're better than Ellie. He's not a top 30 player in the Major League Baseball right now. I hate to say it, he's just not. And that doesn't mean we're going to stop supporting him. It doesn't mean fans should boo him at the park, but have your rebuild focused on the young guys being great. They have not lived up to expectation in any level of this whole thing. We have Ellie not being taking that step forward this year, being that superstar, even a star plus. Yeah, we have McClain who's struggling. We have Steer who's getting things back on track. We'll give him credit. He's playing better the last couple weeks. We have obviously CES who is injured and everything. He didn't play well last year. It's so frustrating to have that. And what that might mean, Rob, is you mentioned Chase Burns is coming up fast. You might have to give up Chase Burns in a trade to go get what you really want, and that is a very good hitter. And Reds fans might have to be okay with that. It might be hey, yeah, if we could, we'd love to give up Brady Singer because he has a 4.88 ERA, but the value we get for Chase Burns is a lot better, especially even Rhett Lauder. We could say, hey, give up him, but he's injured now, and we haven't seen him this year, so it might get to the point where Chase Burns comes up and is your closer and has to adjust to a new role, and that might be the guy who saves you, and that could be it. But to be honest, it seems like we need to go get a bat. It seems like we need to trade some of our starting pitching because we have some depth, whether that's any of the guys listed or someone else. Chase Petty, if someone, he's obviously struggled, but someone wants him. That's going to have to be the move is we have to make those moves. And that's risky for the future of the organization. I get it because that leaves you thin at starting pitcher, but at the expense of losing another year because we can't hit the ball consistently, it might have to happen. I hate it. I like Chase Burns. I think he could be a potential future ace, but I don't know what else you're supposed to do here. You're supposed to let the young core grow up, and then we can't afford them, and they move on. We have to do another rebuild because it's trending that way right now, and I don't want to do that, but I don't know what the other solution is. So just something to watch out here. Reds fans may not be happy giving up young prospects, but I do need a guy in that top 30 tier, top 25 hitter tier, and it's so rough. I think there's so many guys that could be had on some of these teams that are not doing too well, and it's going to be really frustrating when the Yankees are going to get them and put on their bench instead of even use. So I'm getting ready for that. But I did like this. I did like your point about Ellie just not. He's just not there. He's just not a top 30 player. And when that happens and everything's focused on him, it's going to set you back. And it's not his fault 100%. Again, it's just that's like one of the things, as I mentioned, with the young players not stepping up and us, our front office not going and getting more players to help or more solid bats to help. It's like a cycle that goes through and through. The young player doesn't develop. We don't get players to help the young players. The young players get past arbitration years. They leave in free agency. They go do other stuff for other teams. We go back through. We either misevaluate players or do the same thing over and over again. So, um, yes, a lot has to change, and Reds fans might be uncomfortable with what we have to give up to go get something like that. But if they want to win this year, which it seems like the front office did, that might have to be the move.
Yeah, it's sad because they have improved. I mean, they got Lux, they got Trevino, right? They were able to go out and get Austin Hayes. They are a better team, right? They are a better lineup than they were last year. It's just they got to get one more. We'll talk about it, I think, a tiny bit more here once we talk about the Cubs and kind of the comparison between the two teams. But I think this is a good spot for us to move on because I think I want to dive into it a little deeper there. But injury-wise, Rhett Lauder had a major setback, apparently a pretty significant oblique injury. I would be shocked if we see him until September, maybe. Obliques take a long time to heal. And it's really sad because he was finally making his way back up. He was at a AAA start, Joe, and he got pushed back, which is a huge bummer. Noelvi Marte is still scheduled for an MRI, I believe, tomorrow. They had moved that up almost a week or two, I believe. So we could be getting some relief there from him soon. CES is in AAA. Last I had heard, he did not hit very well in that first game. I did not see it for sure, but Jake Fraley did hit well. He had a home run in that same game. It seems like he could be fast tracking his way back to the Cincinnati Reds, which makes their signing and everything even more confusing. To be honest with you, Sam Moll was officially sent down to AAA, a question that we had, Joe. Once they designated him back and healthy, he went to AAA. And then Wade Miley continues his recovery. He's had one good start since we last talked and then one really rough start. So injuries are aplenty, but not as many as we had before. Not necessarily guys who I think are game-changing for the Reds. Although, maybe the bat we need is Noelvi Marte. I don't know. We keep looking at, the injured list to see if that guy is going to be the one that kind of solves things and brings things back up. But I'm not convinced that Noelvi Marte, CES, or Fraley are going to be those guys. You got any quick thoughts on the injury updates before we move on to the signing that we had this week?
Yeah, sad about Rhett Lauder. Wanted to see him come back. Might be one of those where it gives us more time to figure out what we want to do in terms of, obviously there wasn't a spot for him in major leagues right now as a starter. But never want to see him get hurt anyway. And I guess we'll see how we move forward and see if we make some moves. If he comes back, maybe it makes it easier to give up a pitcher in a trade.
Would be nice. That part of it would certainly be nice. The Reds went out and brought in Garrett Hampson, a 30-year-old utility player with plenty of speed, Joe. And he's a solid, fielder in his own right. He can't really hit. So don't understand this one, Joe. Gonna be totally honest with you. The Diamondbacks let this man go because he was 5 for 41 with 0 extra base hits, 10 strikeouts to 9 walks. I'll say that he can get on base a little bit. I'll give him that. But, this man hit in Colorado for years, and the most home runs he had were 11 in one season. So, look, Joe, what's even the point? I don't, they send down Rhys Hines for this guy. I understand they want to get Rhys Hines some more at-bats, but they made this big deal of we brought in Garrett Hampson, big picture, welcome to Cincinnati Reds country. This feels like a minor league signing at best. He didn't even play this weekend against the Cubs. He was here all weekend. He didn't play. So look, I'm sorry, Garrett Hampson, if you're for some reason watching this because you're new to Reds country and you're learning about us Reds fans. I hope you surprise me and do great, but this is not it's not promising for me, Joe, in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, I was on board with the Connor Joe signing. That's working out, batting 320, playing very well for us. Again, the Reds front office will try to make him the savior. He's going to save the season. That's not what he is, but he is a good signing for what he is. And this is better. This is, and the reasoning, Terry, I think Terry's covering up for the front office here, and he's like,
Of course.
well, we needed somebody who could help us in like the late game defensive substitution area. And I'm just like, man, like I don't think defense hasn't been amazing. And I think a lot of the issues maybe start with Ellie, and that's another discussion we can have. But like, I don't think defense is the issue we're having here. It's mostly bullpen being leaky lately, and offense for the most part, to be honest. And this just doesn't help with that. And well, I don't really mind if they want to try something different than Reese Hines on the bench because he is hitting so poorly, even if he does have power. This isn't it. You do something else. But it just it kind of goes to show you that hey, if you plan poorly for the season and don't do all the work in the offseason, during the season you have to make moves like this where you're trying to find something out of nothing. And in the case of Connor Joe, it worked because I actually think he's a better player. But Garrett Hampson, it will likely not work. It'll be hard to prove that it's not working because if he's just used as a defensive substitution, like you're probably just going to stick on the roster forever, and that'll be something that kind of is going to hurt the team.
Yeah, I mean, Joe, there are other hitters who are still available and better than him who are out there right now. So I don't fully, completely understand this one, to be honest with you. I mean, shit, go get freaking Anthony Rizzo. Go get Adam Duvall. Go get, I think Mitch Haniger is still available out there. I mean, I don't know. If you want somebody at the end of the bench who's a little bit more consistent than Reese Hines, fine. Go make that happen. JD Martinez is still available, by the way, too, Joe. I'm sure you probably knew that already. But, man, I don't get it. I don't know. This is just silliness all around. Congratulations to Garrett Hampson for getting another contract. We'll see you in AAA here in like a couple days when Jake Fraley is available. So, whatever. That sounds so bad, but it's just like, what? I don't know. It's such a weird thing. All right. The Cubs, Joe, for me this weekend, they showed what a good team looks like. Now, look, I'm not going to go out and be like, dude, the Cubs are the best. They're so good. Their hitting is very good, but they also are very old. Like, in terms of, I think they're one of the oldest teams in baseball. Their lineup is especially quite old, but they're hitting. Almost every single person in that lineup was hitting this weekend, and they showed resilience, and they showed an ability to go out and win. And I understand that it's all about kind of like a core for the Reds. We've got that older style where it's a core, bring this core up together, right? But what we're seeing with the Cubs is they have professional hitters, I think is what I really liked watching, is every time they came up to bat, they were going to give you a tough at bat. And this is something that we just don't see from a lot of the Reds. They don't have a plan. Every one of these Cubs hitters, it felt like for the most part, Joe, were coming up there with a plan. Do you think that this Reds lineup at any point, either this season, maybe even next season, because I think, like people forget, I know I forgot, the Reds do have a mutual option for Austin Hayes for $12 million for next year. There's I think a very good chance that if he continues to hit this well, I don't know that he'd get a bigger contract. I could see them even maybe extending him for like 2 or 3 years, possibly. But he's really one of the only professional hitters I think that I see from this team on a regular basis. I will say Santiago Espinal as well. He generally gives a good at bat. I think TJ Friedel does as well. But, outside of that, most of these young guys aren't giving good at bats. Even guys like Tyler Stevenson, who's been in the league for 5 years now. Like, I was watching this series and that's what I was feeling. I don't know how you were feeling, but this was something that I thought was worth talking about.
Yeah, I think it's, there's the potential we could get there. I think we're in the early stages of that. And it's really weird for the Cubs, for a team that used to be like all in. And this is not a team that I think is like all in. They're like a solid team, but they're not like what they used to be. But I think they're doing it sort of the right way. And there's some questions to be had about their long-term strategy, right? They brought Kyle Tucker in. Their fans want them to re-sign Kyle Tucker to a long-term deal. They're not doing so. but he's playing well for them, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the thing that I think we have to kind of look at here too is they are doing a good job of mixing their young guys they're bringing up with free agent acquisitions, and I think we started that this year, right? We got Gavin Lux, we got Austin Hayes, Jose Trevino, even though he's supposed to be a backup, is a backup right now for all intents and purposes, even though he's playing better than Stevenson. Starting that, but they go out and they get like Kyle Tucker, they get Dansby Swanson, they get Seiya Suzuki, and they add them to their guy like Nico Horner, Ian Happ, Pete Crow Armstrong, and they have this good blend of like they have missed on prospects too, and they
Yep.
haven't had guys not pan out as well. But the ones who do work out stick, and the ones who don't get weeded out, and they go bring in free agents to replace them. So, that's what I've noticed is like, yes, they did trade for Pete Crow Armstrong when he was in the minor leagues. They traded Javi Baez. They tore down that World Series winning team and got some pieces, and that's helped them now. But they've kept on adding to it, and that's what's been good. And the result has been good too. Their focus, I think, has been more on power. They have 4 different players with at least 11 home runs. We have no one with double-digit home runs this year. Maybe if Austin Hayes was healthy the whole year, although he still only has 6. I'm waiting for him to kind of a couple more here and kind of race with Ellie a little bit. But that's where I think the difference is like we might need 2 more years of acquiring free agents to go with the young guys and then weed out some of the young, like, hey, CES, you may not have a spot anymore, bud. Like, hey, McLean, you better pick it up. Hey, Marte, stay healthy. No PEDs. I don't know. Like
Yeah.
that's what's so different is like they are, while they're not all in, they're operating like a professional organization. And because they did that, they're able to get past the fact that 2 of their best starting pitchers are out. And like if we had 2 of our best starting pitchers are out right now, we're kind of screwed because we don't have the offense to support it. The bullpen, as mentioned, average at best in my opinion. I don't think they could handle all the extra innings they have to work. That's what's so frustrating is I Chicago is, I would say, acting like they're a big market team, but they're not acting like it like they could. They're not going all in. So it's so like we could kind of do something similar to them by like, hey, go get Kyle Tucker for 1 year. Maybe we don't re-sign him, but we're doing it on a lower level with like getting Austin Hayes and Jose Trevino. Maybe a couple more years will work out, but they're going to need some of their young guys on playing well, and I think the approach at the plate has to be a little better too. If they were ready to hit, you could tell they had a plan for everyone. Even guys who came up, like Reese McGuire, like I mentioned earlier, he had the 2 home runs and they were ready. And it seems like we're not. And a lot of at bats, it just seems like we're not ready. The approach at the plate has been bad.
Yeah, I completely agree. I will say they do have almost double the payroll that the Reds do right now. It's about 85, 90 million more than the Reds. So, you got to kind of take that into comparison. What's funny is they're the 11th team. We're the 23rd team in payroll. So it's like,
Yeah.
even they're still not even breaking into the top 10 right now. It just sucks to be a poor baseball team. Really only Cleveland and Detroit are the only teams that seemingly are able to do it a little bit better, which funny enough, even though everybody talks about it, Detroit's actually only or has 30 million more on their payroll than even the Reds do. So keep that in mind as well. That's a full player, by the way, just so you know, a full good player if the Reds really wanted to go out and do that. So, I agree with you. I think that there's definitely hope. I just, it takes time, but it's like when and how does that all work? Because it feels like they've kind of thrust them into this position of we want to compete this year. They want to maximize on Ellie years, which is fine, but then all these other young guys are really not producing. And I think that that's where you struggle and how much longer. I mean, like McLean has been better. I don't want to just sit here and totally, crap on him. Like it's been a little bit better in the last 2 weeks. 216 average, still not great, mind you. I really still think that he is struggling to trust his shoulder. To be honest with you, Joe, I mean he's swinging through every 95 mile an hour plus fastball. I watched it again this week. I might just start keeping track of it, to be honest with you, and see if because I think 2 years ago when he was healthy, those balls were going into the stands. So it's kind of when and how is it all going to work? I mean, we're not even talking about Jeimer Candelaria, who's most of the payroll. At this point, where is he even going to play when he comes back? So it's just like, I don't know. We got to hope that they can find something to give us that hope. And, for me, I still think we've said it a million times. I'm not going to hammer it home anymore about a bat. They just need to go find one. I don't know who. Maybe next week we'll talk about that, Joe. If they have a decent week this week, maybe if they can find a way to go 4-2 this week. These Redlegs can go out and find somebody who will give them a good at bat. But even signing a free agent right now who hasn't been playing, Joe, they aren't. It's going to take them a little bit of time to kind of get caught up and be able to actually be useful, right? It's not like you're going to sign JD Martinez tomorrow and he's going to be able to come in and hit for you, right? So, these are things that we're going to have to kind of take into consideration. But I'll give you one more thought here, and then we're going to head on to the Royals.
Yeah, it's nice for the Cubs too. They've done it that way, and Pico Armstrong comes up, and there's no pressure on him, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like he's batting fifth and sixth on the lineup, and there's other guys ahead of him, and it's great that he's playing well. But it's a lot easier to come up when like all of your resources basically are like, hey, the young guys have to do well, like the Reds are. So yeah, we'd love to see them make more free agent acquisitions, even if it's not the same payroll, and they definitely have money to do it. Don't let them fool you on that. So that's what I would love to see is like, hey, let's take the pressure off these young guys. And maybe that'll help, but who knows?
Who knows indeed. We are heading to the Kansas City Royals, Joe. They will start their series there today. You got Nick Martinez going up against Michael Lorenzen. Brady Singer will face his old team versus unknown. They do not know who's going to be starting this game, Joe. I don't know about injuries. We'll have to talk about that. And then Hunter Green versus, I believe it's Nick Cameron. No, it's not Nick Cameron. Is it Nick Cameron? Noah Cameron. There we go. Noah Cameron. Who's going to be starting his fourth start. This Royals team has been solid, Joe. I mean, they're 4 games above 500 right now. They are in a very tight AL Central race. Funny enough, they are back almost about the same amount of games as the Cincinnati Reds are, even though they are 4 games above 500. They are 4-6 in their last couple games. They've started to come on a little bit as a team. We are dodging their arguably their best starting pitchers. We're dodging Chris Bubich and Michael Waka. So we'll get Lorenzen like we talked about. But this team is a good mix of some players who can hit, some who can't. Michael Garcia's had a good season. Bobby Witt, again, is having a pretty outstanding season. I think maybe a little bit of an under-talked about, underrated one even. But they've got a lot of guys who are hitting all right. They've even gone out and made some acquisitions, moved some things around, getting, guys like Marcana earlier, Jonathan India, our old friend. He's been getting on base at a pretty high rate still. So I would say a team that is slightly better than the Reds right now, Joe, but maybe not as much as others might think.
Yeah, this is a winnable series for the Reds. You mentioned they missed the 2 top starters. We start with Michael Lorenzen. They have 2 other starters who are Al Colregan and Seth Lugo, which means we could take advantage of their starting pitching and get to the bullpen and put some pressure on them for this one. The Royals are I would say, outside of Garcia and Bobby Witt, are maybe like an inconsistent team. You don't know what you're going to get. They have weeks where it's just those 2's producing and no one else. They have weeks where some of the other guys come along. But the key is those 2 guys, Michael Garcia and Bobby Witt. They have guys like Jonathan India, obviously, not having the greatest season, batting .226, some negative .7 WAR. Salvador Perez, obviously, over the hill. He's having a rough season too, .224, only 3 home runs, negative 1.2 WAR. So to me, it's more about can we get to the bullpen? Can we pitch around Bobby Witt and Michael Garcia? They don't have a ton of power. Vinny Pasquantino leads the team with 8 home runs, so that's even lower than us. But I think that's kind of the keys for me is like this is a beatable team, especially with the starting pitchers we get, and the fact that they really only have 2 hitters I'm really scared about. Some other guys have stepped up as well and helped out and kind of filled in, but if we can just make sure those guys don't beat us, there is a good chance we win the series.
Yeah, absolutely. I am going to go 2-1, mostly because I feel confident that Brady Singer is going to come back, be a little bit fired up. And I really think that Hunter Green is... I know Cameron has had a great first 3 games, it looks like, to be honest. It's pretty impressive. But it feels like the Reds are going to be able to come in and maybe take advantage of him. I know he's a lefty, but I'll take Hunter Green any day. So I'm going to go 2-1 in this one. That'll get the Reds back up to 500, by the way.
Yeah, I'll go 2-1 as well. There's stats out there. As of May 20th, we were 0-22 when trailing after 6 innings, and we were 6-14 when we didn't hit a home run. Um, I think because of the starting pitching not being as good, I think we can get up early and sustain that lead now, but maybe not be trailing at the end, like we maybe did with the Cubs series too. So I'm gonna say because of that starting pitching, we go 2-1 and get the job done on the road.
I love it. All right, we'll move on to a team we're very familiar with, Joe, the Chicago Cubs. We will get them at their place. It's weird. It feels like the Reds generally play the Cubs better in Wrigley for some reason. I don't know why. The Cubs did unfortunately end the Reds' winning streak of winning Friday games at home. Maybe we can get them at their place. We will be sending out something that we saw already this weekend. Andrew Abbott versus Colin Rea. Nick Lodolo versus Ben Brown, and then Nick Martinez versus Jameson Taillon, who has been not what I think the Cubs had hoped once they brought him in. Joe, what are your thoughts on this series as we head to the north side of Chicago?
1-2 for me in the series. We had our chance at home. We do play them, I think, pretty well at Wrigley for the most part, for what my expectations are at least. And I just think that even though we're getting some of their pitchers who maybe have struggled, I think this is just one of those where the offense is going to come out too much. The fans will get on us again because we're in Chicago, and we just can handle that adversity well. So I'll say 1-2.
I hate myself. I for some reason I feel like they're going to go 2-1. And I'm going to say why. I think it's the lefty matchups. The Cubs aren't necessarily a great team versus the lefties. I think the bullpen will get a little bit more rest because they'll have Thursday off going into the series. I'm hopeful that, the starting pitchers, especially the ones who are pitching in this Royals series, will be able to go kind of deeper into the series and give the Reds a little bit of a chance here. I can't explain why. I think the bats are going to do well again here in Chicago, and I think that the bullpen will hold them down this time. We were really the bullpen doing just an okay job even instead of a terrible job of sweeping the Cubs at home. So I'm going to go 2-1 in this series. I'm just going to try for one more positive stretch here. That would put the Reds at 4-2 for me, Joe. That would put them 2 games over 500. They would pick up a game on the Cubs as well. Or no, it put them 1 game over 500, right? Yeah. 1 game over 500.
They'd be 30. No, they'd be 500. It'd be 30-30 if they're 4-2.
Yeah, they would be. Yeah, you're right. Okay. Sorry, brain farted there. I forgot what our record was. Regardless, the Reds would be at 500. They would pick up a game on the Cubs in that series, and I think that would be really important, personally. So I'm just going to try to be hopeful here. I do think that we hit their starting pitching pretty well. And like I just said, Jameson Taillon has not been that guy this year for them. He's got a 4.13 ERA. He's given up 14 home runs already this season, Joe. So maybe the Reds will find their power bats against him. But that's going to wrap it up for us. What do you got for us as we head into the Memorial Day?
Well, no fun facts because the Reds aren't much fun. But we're going to call this something opposite. We're going to say this is very painful. We talked this offseason, Rob, about maybe signing guys like J.D. Martinez or someone else, or like Alex Verdugo. He's batting 309 against right-handed pitching. He would only be a platoon for us. He might get some at bats versus lefties. He's batting 309 against right-handed pitching for the Braves, and I think for the most part, it's helped them stay in it. And Ronald Acuna's back now, so watch out for the Braves now too.
Yeah, they're scary. I have one fun fact from this weekend, Joe. As you know, I'm getting married at the end of the year, and we had the hair and makeup trial on Sunday, and we met the makeup person who did the makeup for Pete Rose the week before he passed away in his last major appearance. So I thought that was really cool. She said that Pete was super nice to her and all that jazz. So I thought that was a cool little bit that I got to add this week, something that I don't normally get to. So I was glad to do it. But yeah, guys, that'll do it for us on this one. Hopes and prayers for the Reds. Let's see if they can figure something out while they are on the road this weekend. But yeah, that'll do it for us. So we'll catch you guys on the next one.